You're listening to Materials Business, the podcast where engineering, leadership, and innovation meet diversity and inclusion. Hosted by Monica Hernandez, engineer, entrepreneur, and industry advocate. When we embrace different perspectives, we create stronger industries, smarter solutions, and lasting impact. Now, let's dive in.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when are you watching us. And thank you for being part of the Material Business Podcast family. My name is Monica Hernandez, and I have a super special guest, Dr. Naeem. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do this.
We are very excited because we're going to talk a lot about your journey going from, very technical into entrepreneurial.
Sure.
And then all the things that have come across your path to get you there. And then Latimer Enterprises, and how is that going on? And why is that important for someone that, is young and has that dream of, I can do this? We want to talk to the audience, especially the technical folks, about how the journey is not linear.
Sure.
How sometimes we have that dream that is from A to B. Like a vector, and it's not really that.
Nah.
So we'll go through that. But before we start, why don't you tell the audience who you are?
Sure, absolutely. So again, great to be with you all today. My name is Dr. Naeem Turner-Bandele. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Latimer Enterprises. It is an energy research and consulting firm that is dedicated to empowering people with secure, independent, safe, and affordable energy solutions. So all about ensuring that our energy is affordable and reliable, and helping people across, whether you're a business or you're a homeowner, you're a renter, helping you figure out how to ensure that your energy is affordable and reliable.
That's very important. And it's a lot of the topics we like to talk here in the podcast. Entrepreneurship, STEM, how we can be sustainable, how we can make better choices, I guess,
Sure.
For a sustainable way. Why did you end up in that area?
Sure. So my journey to this company and to energy in general starts back in 2012. At the time, I was still in high school, and I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So that was my dream. More than 13 years ago. Yeah, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. And when I say be a professional soccer player, I don't just mean like go play for a second division team or end up somewhere like that. I meant I wanted to play with Messi and Ronaldinho beyond Barcelona. That was my dream. And so at the time, I was a 17-year-old living in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I told my parents one day, like, "Hey, I want to go pursue this dream. How can I go do it?" And so that led me to eventually finding a program in Brazil, of all places, one of the greatest places to go play football, play soccer. And while I was in that program, I really started to pay more attention to what was happening with energy, because I was at a soccer academy in Brazil, and there would be days where we'd have full power outages and the surrounding town would be without power. And coming from living in the US, that wasn't something that I was used to. Sure, we had power interruptions when there were major storms, but like to have like just every day, there's no storm, shouldn't be any major interruption. Just to be without power was quite alarming, and really alerted me to the importance of energy and electricity in our modern world, because I would go sometimes a couple days without being able to communicate to family back home. And when you're 17-year-old, 18-year-old, just on your own, and you're not with your family, and you can't communicate back to them in any kind of way, it becomes pretty difficult. So eventually I had to give up the soccer dream, because I had a very serious concussion in 2013 that just meant that if I were to continue to play, and if I had one more concussion, the doctors told me essentially that I would be within serious issues. I'd have serious problems moving forward. So knowing that, I decided to give it up and try to figure out, okay, what do I want to do next? And that's when I started to think about back to my experiences being at that academy in Brazil, thinking about energy and electricity, and thinking about how can we make this something that's more reliable and affordable for everyone? Because as I started to realize, the issues I experienced in Brazil happen worldwide. They even happen still today in the United States for many communities. And this experience though just happened to make me more aware of it. So as I was thinking about that, I eventually decided to apply to college, and I wrote down in my college applications essays that I want to start an energy technology company dedicated to making energy more affordable and reliable. Now, that was the new big dream. I didn't have any clear steps for accomplishing that. It was just I put out this big goal, and I thought I'll figure out somehow how to achieve it. So in my mind, my first step was to go to college, and so I thought about kind of what types of engineers deal with energy and electricity. Computer engineering and electrical engineering stuck out. Started off as a computer engineer and then eventually decided to go on and become an electrical engineer. And so that was really my introduction into this space and how I first started off.
Mm. Wow, what a powerful story. And it also ties down into what we said at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's life is not linear.
No.
Uh, Sometimes we have an objective and then we need to deviate, and then it doesn't mean that it's not as exciting. Perhaps you will not be playing with Messi, but you get to meaningful contributions, to
Yeah.
the world. This makes me remember we had an episode with the VP of LNG Canada,
Mm,
and she said something that like what you said reminded me of her. She said that sometimes we take things for granted. We open the tap, water, and then we expect the water to come out because
yeah.
it has never not come out.
Exactly.
Uh, we have we turn the switch and then we expect the light to turn on because
Yeah.
we are not expected to not have the light. There is communities around the globe and even in our countries like in
Yeah.
Canada or US
Yeah.
that privilege is not, it's a privilege, it's not there
Yeah.
all the time. So what a great cause. So how is that you're doing that? Like what is that we get someone that it lives in a community, and then how do we help with the company achieve that objective of securing energy?
Sure. So the ways that I go about that with Latimer Enterprises is one through consulting. So if a client comes to me and they're interested in figuring out how to make their home energy system, for example, more resilient, or how to figure out ways to reduce energy usage in order to get get down to just saving costs, that's something I help them figure out, and that's very much a personalized, one-on-one sort of approach. The other way in which I try to work to achieve that mission is through training and education. So offer training and education services to organizations who are interested in learning more about energy efficiency, energy savings, and how to help widespread groups achieve that. So that could be everything from nonprofits to more for-profit businesses. And the last way that I'm starting to get into, I believe, is kind of the within the long-term direction of the country is through products. And so what I mean by that primarily at the moment is software. I'm developing a product called Beacon, which is a home energy affordability guide. So to help folks initially in the United States assess their energy burden, which is a metric that looks at how does the energy that you pay, how much does it cost, how does that impact your overall affordability picture, how does that impact your financial picture? So it ties directly to costs and savings, and so that with through Beacon, hope to be able to provide very specific recommendations to people on how they can make energy more affordable for them. So those are the three different ways.
Wow, that's super interesting. Does it have into account other sources of energy, like solar, if someone has not is not connected to the grid, but has like solar panels, for example, or it has a geothermal furnace?
That's on the roadmap. It won't be there at launch, but yeah, it's something that I'm thinking about and acutely aware of.
Ah, I just gave you the ideas. I get to write for that.
How about it?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, for sure. It's like more and more we are seeing people transitioning, especially the general public, into other sources of energy, and then that will be something that I will be very interesting to understand. Is like how much will this actually reduce
Yeah.
my bill if I go from I don't know, from the conventional energy sources to a solar panel sources, and then how reliable are they? Because sometimes is that also ties into the equation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And you have to be able to consider those things today, especially as we are facing an era where we're coming from having, depending on very reliable energy systems, energy grids, electricity grids, and now they're becoming a little bit more unreliable. So
Yeah.
for everyone, and not just the poorest communities amongst us. So it's definitely something we all have to start thinking about a little bit more.
You made me remind, like 2 winters ago, we had a really cold winter, like minus 45 for a week. And by the fourth day, the city just issued in Calgary, that's in Calgary, Alberta, the city issued a warning like, please take care of how you're using your things because the grid is maximized.
Yeah.
And at that temperature, the pipes will freeze like this.
Yeah.
So you'll have a lot of frozen piping breaks and then a lot of disasters that come out of that. So yeah, it can definitely be a source of stress on the grid at some moments.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah. So why is that you always wanted, like from when you transfer from soccer dream to creating the company, why did you want it to be an entrepreneur?
Oof, yeah, so that's a great question too, because you think, you're interested in energy, you're interested in electricity. You could go work for a utility, you could go work for another technology company. There are a lot of different avenues. I think I was initially attracted to entrepreneurship in part because of the household I grew up in. So my dad is a financial planner, and he's had his own financial planning practice for, I am 30 now, so I would say almost 30 years. And so that I grew up seeing that person be able to have a flexible lifestyle in which they were able to, come home, do kind of whatever activity they want with me. He didn't have to go into an office all the time and report to someone. So that always really appealed to me just from the start as a baseline. But then as I started to think about my own career, increasingly, especially as I got further into my academic career through college, I started taking internships and doing other things. I started to realize that while I could go off and be a good to great employee, at the end of the day, there was always this friction in my a friction that I'll bump up against of like, I don't quite know if this is the right exact fit for me. There were times where I'd want to have ownership over the decision making, and I had no ownership over the decision making. Or I started to think about, I want to actually go work on this, but I couldn't go work on that specific task because that wasn't the focus of somebody else's business, of somebody else's goals and objectives. So that was also really appealing about entrepreneurship as well. So I think at the end of the day, it came down to independence and having ownership over decisions, more so than I would say the idea of like, I'm going to go make a lot of money being an entrepreneur, because I think we know that that's just not, we know that's not the case. But so there was never that idealism. It was certainly more about just being able to make my own decisions and have independence.
That's very, very interesting. And that is so true, right? Like people are like, oh, I'm going to go build them a $2 million. But behind that $2 million, there is a lot of things that need to happen.
You
And
might have spent 5 million just to get to that 2 million.
that's true. That is true. So it is all the pros and the cons and all that. So your family played a huge role on
Yep.
empowering you to be where you are. Did you face any challenges like being so young and going into this like super different avenue from like everyone else? Like I remember in my 20s, I would have not taken the decision to do the company, right? That's
Yeah.
why it was not meant for me until I was older. But your case is like you went head on into it, like a very young age.
Oh yeah, I would say there's been points throughout the last decade plus where there have been questions of if I should even go through with this. Everything from, as I was graduating college, and by that point I decided to get a PhD, and I'd gotten into a few PhD programs. There was still the question of, is this something I still want to do? And at the time, I thought, yeah, okay, sure, I still do want to be an entrepreneur, but this is just the next step towards that. And even during my PhD, I had it was the summer of 2021. I just passed my qualifying exam, which for people who don't know is a big milestone. It means that you're essentially ready to become a PhD candidate, which means you're at the level to continue on to produce a dissertation and hopefully graduate in a reasonable time. And so in the summer of 2021, after I'd done my passed that qualifying exam, I started to think about what the heck am I gonna do next? Like, am I still going to go be an entrepreneur? I had a real a mini crisis at the time. So that was another point. And there were people at the time saying like, hey, maybe you want to go like work for somebody else first, telling me that. And then I thought, oh, I still don't really want that. And it was a conversation actually with another entrepreneur who made me think that this was still for me. What he said to me at the time was that effectively, like, you've been in charge of um, nonprofit organizations. You run organizations where people essentially volunteer their time. That's as hard as anything that a CEO who gets paid to do it, who has employees that are paid to do their job, that's harder than that. So like, if you can do that, then you can do anything. So I thought, okay, I've done that. I've been in charge of nonprofit volunteer organizations. I can go do this. So that was certainly another point. And then as I was getting my MBA, which is a process where it's very easy to get lost in. So for context, who don't know, when people go off to get an MBA or a master's in business, it's usually people are trying to switch careers, or they've had something about the career that came before that they didn't like, and they need to adapt in order to reach the next level. So an environment like that, where you're surrounded by people who are unsure of kind of where they want to go next, everybody's trying to switch to get to something new. It's very easy to get lost. And there were certainly points during that journey where I got lost too, where I felt like, oh, I should go take this internship first, or maybe I should now go take this other job that I want to do. But in fact, um, when I went off to go do an internship in the summer of 2024, uh, it was a total disaster, and it made very clear even more that I just didn't want to work for somebody else at this point. I wanted to go be an entrepreneur, so I needed to figure out how to do that.
Well, a real testimony of determination and resilience and having your objective clear. And I think before we started recording, we spoke about how sometimes we think we'll figure it already what is it, and then life presents us with another set of nebulous questions, and then we have to go through the weeds to figure out a way out. And then I think the more that I listen to you, the more that this becomes clear, that it was clear in your mind,
Yep.
and that you are meant to be an entrepreneur. Is no doubt about it. And so, can you tell us one very rewarding moment during all this journey?
Yeah, I would say there it's hard. Sometimes it's hard as an entrepreneur to remember the rewarding moments. The unrewarding moments stick out much more in your mind. So I'm glad that you're asking me about that. I would say that one of the most rewarding moments happened when I started the company. So before I took that internship that I mentioned in the summer 2024, I did have a bad feeling about it. I was like, there's something about this that isn't quite fitting with either like with what I actually want for my career. So I started to work on this backup plan. And I got very lucky in that a family friend was building a new, very large home, luxury home that was over 19,000 square feet. And there were concerns at the time of, how much is the energy of this 19,000 square foot home going to cost, and how will they manage that? So I was asked to come consult and help figure out how to reduce the energy usage of that home, how to make things more efficient and more cost effective. And so that was the way I got to launch my company. I like signed a deal and was able to from there have uh, an immediate cash injection in order to proceed. So that was a hugely rewarding moment because it meant to me that somebody actually values my time, insight, and expertise enough to pay me, and that maybe I'm not totally crazy to go try this entrepreneurship thing.
I don't think you are. I think you're just in the right track. And it is important to have those people that believe in us. And sometimes, and we have said this in this podcast many times, sometimes we need that reminder because we are at a moment that we don't even believe in ourselves. It's like when, and I have this conversation when I teach the immigration
Mm,
groups, and at some point in the during the immigration process you kind of lose your identity and
mm,
then your north, and it's like, why did I even do this? But then it comes down into that determination, and then surrounding yourself with people that helps you up instead of holding you down. You also mentioned about intuition, and you probably have seen in some of the episodes that is like, my gut feeling is telling me, don't go there.
yeah.
Gut feeling, I know what I'm doing. And then you go, and it's an experience that just reaffirms what you were uh, feeling. So, have you had any of those other moments where your intuition was very strongly telling you not to or do it,
Yeah.
and you listen to it?
Where it was telling me not to or to do it and I listened to it. Yeah, I would say that happens, I think all the time. So one big piece of intuition, going back to even the decision to go get the PhD or not. At the time, my intuition said, yes, I should do this. And even though I had, for example, I had professors trying to tell me that, hey, you're not ready to go get a PhD. You should go get your master's first. And you can stay here with me and like do your master's and then you'll be able to go get your PhD. So when you have, other people who already have the credentials that you're seeking, it can make you doubt that like you're actually pursuing this correctly. But I followed through with it anyway. I said, I'm not going to go get a master's. I said, I want to go get a PhD. I'm going to go do it. So, and it worked out for me in the end, following that intuition.
That's so important, and it's a very important piece that you're touching, and is sometimes the person that is guiding us is are not seeking our best interest.
No. Yeah. In
How,
that case, they absolutely were not seeking my best interest.
absolutely, absolutely. So, what will you tell someone that is perhaps like in your situation, that are listening to, I don't know, a mentor or a guide or a professor, and they're telling that person, you're not ready?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, you have to really know yourself in that moment because it's possible that they are right and you're not ready. And in my case, I think I've always had a pretty strong sense of self, and that's been developed over time as well, though through the way I was raised by my parents and through the various different experiences and challenges that I've had. So I think first and foremost, you have to know and understand yourself, and you have to be really honest with yourself about what you can and can't do. I'm someone who's very self-critical of themselves, so like I'm all if I think I don't do something well, I know it pretty instantly before somebody else has to point it out to me. But then I think after you've done that, and if you still believe in your assessment, internal assessment says, hey, you know what, I actually am capable of this, then I would say go find another mentor, find a second, third, or fourth opinion because everybody's thoughts about this are not going to be the same. So thankfully, at the time, while I had that one professor telling me, like, you're not ready, I also had somebody else who fully believed in me, name's Dr. Sarah Kate Wilson at Santa Clara University. And she was actively encouraging me to go do this and even wrote one of my recommendation letters for the PhD program. So I think that's where it helps having multiple people.
And that is what the importance of your network
Yeah,
it becomes, is like, I don't only have one point of reference, I have multiple points of reference, and then I can, perhaps they have different experiences in life and in whatever is, and then they can tell you strong points and improvement points from different perspectives.
absolutely.
So that is very valuable, I think. there was another person in the podcast, and now you're making me remember all my guests. And she was told that she wasn't engineering material.
Hmm.
Like
What does that
that.
even mean? What is engineering material?
Like you can't be an engineer. Like what is it? Like you can't.
It,
And now she runs an organization in US where she has programs for little girls
mm,
to enter STEM and empower communities that are underrepresented.
that's fantastic.
And she has it all over the country. So in the podcast, I was like, oh, give me the name of that teacher. I can reach out and say, hey, remember?
Yeah.
So if anyone that is listening to this has a moment of authority or has perhaps the privilege of being able to tell someone, be mindful of what you're saying.
Yes.
Because should have you listened to that person, you wouldn't be here.
No.
Shouldn't that girl listen to that teacher? She wouldn't done this fantastic thing. Like she's shaping the new generation that is going to pay our retreatment. It's like, and you are in a cause for the sustainment of the planet plus a community service. So it is amazing.
Mm.
And sometimes people that are in a moment of authority or they have a little bit of say, uh, we don't always think of what we say. And
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and you're right about encouraging people who do have some level of authority to be very mindful. There, I think there is a good balance between providing honest and critical feedback, and then just totally discouraging someone and turning them off. And I think you have to navigate that line well. Just because you offer feedback and it isn't necessarily positive, yeah, it's not necessarily positive, doesn't mean that that person still can't go on to achieve the thing they say they want to do. Maybe they achieve it with your help if you offer some real support and insight and real mentorship.
yeah. And something very powerful you just said is sometimes we give feedback as our opinion,
Yeah.
but it's not a thorough assessment.
No.
And that is when knowing yourself, and you said it, you have a really good mm, understanding of who you are. That's a question that we don't ask ourselves a lot.
No.
And nobody really teaches us how to know who we are. Even in the podcast, when I have guests, sometimes people struggle to do the intro
Mm.
because they don't really have a handle besides their title. It's like I'm Monica Hernandez and I am an engineer. Besides that, what is it? So how do you get to that knowledge of yourself?
That's such a great question, and it made me think of a number of different ways I got to that point. But first and foremost, it starts with my name. So my parents named me Naeem Kahari Turner-Bandele, and so each part of my name, with the exception of Turner, has a meaning. So Naeem means benevolent, Kahari means kingly, and Bandele means born away from home. So altogether, it means born away from home. So that, even in my worst moments, is a guiding light. My name teaches me that I am supposed to be benevolent, teaches me that I'm supposed to be kingly. Kings don't behave with arrogance, or good kings at least don't behave arrogantly. They're good to the people around them. And I think about it less of like being a good king and more like being a good leader and being a good person. And born away from home means recognizing that I come from people that were enslaved, and so I have a duty, a legacy to something much more than myself. So that's where it starts first and foremost. But I think it was reinforced through the just experiences across my life, and the mentors that I had, who said that, hey, actually, you are so capable of so much more. I believe in you, and that and reinforcement. And I would say it wasn't just always positive reinforcement. It was also, they were never hesitant to be critical with me. Like I mess up all the time, but when I did, it was always that people pointing out that, hey, you're not living up to who you say you want to be and who you can be. So that's where the sense of self was also reinforced through activities that I did, like playing sports, like joining organizations and having my values and opinions and visions challenged by people I collaborated with in different volunteer organizations. So it all really fit together.
So it's an effort, a collaborative effort, and putting yourself out there and seeking that, seeking those challenges and seeking those opportunities to be among people that are maybe similar to you but different to you as well, and then getting that feedback from them. That's something that we also have said in the podcast a lot. The importance of mentorship, looking for someone that has done your,
Yeah.
like, has walked your path or similar path, because everyone's path is unique,
Yes.
but something similar. Who is that inspires you and things like that. So
Yep.
I think at this moment, I'll ask you that question. Who is an entrepreneur that inspires you
Sure.
to?
Yeah, I would say that my inspiration is the namesake of the company. His name's Lewis Howard Latimer. He was an entrepreneur, an engineer, an inventor, but also a musician and artist. And his life is completely inspirational to me. Um, he came up in a time where there were very few opportunities for people who looked like him, and managed to turn that into making some transformative innovations. I mean, he worked on an improved carbon filament for for the light bulb, for which we would have, the electric lighting that we have today. So I mean, that's, if he can overcome all the challenges that he overcame, I too can overcome that. So yeah, that's first and foremost who I look to.
Interesting. Everything that you say has so much depth. It's never a. And then, oh yeah, Nelson Mandela is like, I know, it's like it had. It's very interesting, and I'm certain that a lot of the people that are listening to this episode are going to be deeply touched by everything that you're sharing, and everything that you're.
Yeah.
And in all senses, is not this is not for someone that is young, that is maybe perhaps part of an unrepresented community, or looks different, or speaks different, or something. It's also for the other side, like as a parent, as a mentor, as a, how are you influencing? Because it's a huge responsibility.
Yes.
So it's seeing someone like you is like you're the product of all that
Yes.
effort, and it requires your effort and your help system, I guess, support you and empower you to go that way.
Yeah. And something you said reminded me of another, back to the sense of self question, another way in which I find that. So something that I do daily is I write positive affirmations down every morning to myself. Like, just like everybody, I get a ton of self doubt, get into a negative headspace, and I need something to self correct and get me back to who I know I am to be. So I write down daily affirmations, at least 5 times. I have 5 different ones that I go to. So that's 25 affirmations that I write every day. And that helps reinforce things as well for me.
We were just talking with my son. My son is 12.
Okay.
And anyone that follows the podcast, I speak about him all the time, right? And we were having this conversation the other day. He was telling me, like, how is that you change that negative self-talk? Is like, you can't do it, or you can't, or it's going to be difficult. It's going to be, and I'm like, well, you just have to shift the way you think about it, and then and it sounds like he's like, that sounds so easy, but so difficult at the same time. I'm like, indeed, it is,
Well, yeah.
because it requires consistency, it
Yeah.
requires will. And thank you for sharing that, because every time that I get into the self care
Yeah.
topic with my guest, all the ladies are like, oh, yeah, I do journaling and I do meditation and yoga and this, I take baths. And the guys are like, oh, yeah, I just go nature.
No, I've
But
been doing affirmations and visualizations. It goes back to being an athlete, because that's what I would do as an athlete. I would need to do that before I ran track, and in addition to playing soccer. So I would need to do that before every race, to avoid the nerves I got. I would need to do it before every game, and then eventually I needed to do it, before tests and exams in college and throughout graduate school, because it just helped me be better and have more confidence.
Amazing. And that's part of knowing yourself,
Yeah.
right? So huge, huge, huge achievement. Kudos to you. I mean, you're an incredible person.
Oh, thank you very much.
We are so privileged to have you in the podcast. It's like I hope a lot of people get a lot of inspiration. How would you what would you like to say to the guests?
Sure, I would.
Sorry, the listeners.
Sure. I would just say we've talked a lot about my journey, and I've mentioned that it has not been straightforward. I've mentioned all the different things that I've done and experienced, and so I would encourage them, even if their journey feels nonlinear, that that's okay too. That and that there are different strategies, techniques that you can deploy to help make whatever vision it is you're trying to achieve a reality, and not to give up, or if you need to reframe it, because we all have to reframe kind of what we want to do or pivot, that's okay too. And to the engineers or scientists or whatever you happen to be, it's okay to have other dreams, other visions, other involvements.
That's interesting. I think a lot of I was just in a conference in Edmonton a couple of months ago, and then one of the students was saying to me, it feels so scary to go into industry because I have always been here in the lab.
Hmm.
And I'm sure it is, but seeing people like you who defined your way of going about it and believed enough in yourself to make it happen is just an inspiration for all those fellows that don't know how to quit uh, the academia, but really want to. So you're a testament of this can happen without letting go of your academic, because you have always pursued something academic, but it's possible to do it, and it's actually complementary, and it gives you other tools that otherwise you would have not have.
Yes, completely agree.
Why should people listen to the Material Business Podcast?
I think our conversation today is a testament of why they should be ongoing listeners. This was a really easy, free flowing discussion. I felt like didn't feel like I was being interviewed. It felt like I was just having a conversation with a friend or family member. And so I think if you're interested in having people speak honestly and openly and comfortably, and just learning about other people's journeys, you should continue to listen to this podcast.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'll hug you if you were here close. um, I have no more questions, Dr. Naeem. Thank you so much for your time, for being so kind, but more than anything, for just be who you are, because you're an inspiration.
Oh.
Um, I'll I'll make my son listen to this one, but I hope a lot of people consider when we have these kinds of conversations that truly show the spark. People that listen to this say, okay, I think my niece should enjoy this. I think my other professor should look into this. And then that's how we build this community. So for all the listeners, thank you so much for being here, for continue sharing. We have representation, or listeners, I guess we have in all the continents. So thank you, all of you, for being here. And again, Dr. Naeem, thank you for your mission in life.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Materials Business Podcast. Feel free to visit infinitygrowth.ca to see show notes and explore other episodes. If there's someone you think should hear this episode, please share with them. Take care of yourself and have a great rest of your day.